listeners. Welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer, and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors. But of course, I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, Exalted One.
BP.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
You sound tired, buddy.
We've already had a chat off here about my commitment. It's just outstanding.
2 a.m. for you at the moment, mate.
2 a.m. in the morning here in sunny Batam. But yeah, all good. Looking forward to it.
Okay, we'll bring in the other bloke, but the joys of doing podcasts.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Sounds like the commitment to the bottle to me, mate. And I'm doubting it's very sunny at the minute, given it's 2 a.m. But the sun has finally started shining. Feels as though summer is here, or specifically in Adelaide, with a weekend coming up. Actually, we've got the Premier's Cup here this weekend.
Nice.
The weekend of racing out of the Cruising Yacht Club, of which forecast maximum wind strength about 4 knots this weekend. So in stark contrast to last year where it was 20 to 25 every sailing day, it's now basically zero wind. So climate change, thank you very much. You've done it again.
It rocks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But isn't it funny how we could just blame climate change for everything now?
Yeah.
I got a story for you boys.
Yeah, go.
I think I met your doppelganger, Bitey. Now,
He didn't. He must have been a good bloke.
He didn't look anything like you, right? But there was 2 things that made me think of you. One, he was on a kayak, and you don't mind going for a paddle, much like myself. And 2, the Crocs. You've been known to
been known to wear a croc. Yeah.
So here's the story. The other morning, I went for a paddle on my ski. Ocean ski is what we call them. Kayak, big kayak. And I'm paddling out into the ocean, just about to exit the river, and I come alongside one of those blokes in his little fishing kayaks. You know how they
the Hobie ones.
Yeah, the little Hobie ones.
Yeah,
They got all the fishing rods hanging on.
Little pedals or
No, paddle.
Yeah.
He's going like a madman, paddling as hard as any bloke's ever, as fast as any bloke's ever paddle. And I'm paddling up to him like super quick, and I'm just going, dude, what is going on? Anyway, I get alongside him. He's forgotten his paddle, so he got a stick and taped his Crocs onto the end of it. And he was paddling out to sea.
There you go.
Safety. Anyway, he'd already caught a fish. He was happy. So, you know.
Oh, mate. Yeah. That's how you do it. Thanks for the reference.
Well, there is a famous, go to YouTube and look up for Crocs and Ocean Race, the Volvo Ocean Race, and you might find Bitey. I think that's on, I'm assuming that's on YouTube.
Oh, it's on our webpage as well, actually.
Oh, is it?
So,
Yep. Jump onto that, go into Barkarati. All right, shall we bring in our guest? Because I'm interested in this discussion.
I like it. Let's do it.
So a few weeks ago, we gave a bit of a plug for the 2.4 metre Worlds coming up, and they've been and gone. And our guest tonight is the winner of the World Champs. Interesting dude, because quite a long professional sailing career, but then also ended up becoming a Paralympic sailor. Went to the Olympics in 2016, and now, dominating the 2.4 metre class. Is dominating the word? It's a tough class. There's some good competition in there. He just won the Worlds. We thought we'd have a bit of a chat and learn a bit more. So please, welcome to our show, Dee Smith. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. With all this notice that Bicey gave me, it was really good. I think he texted me last night around 10 o'clock here. So, I'm really well prepared.
Nothing's changed then.
I was, by the way, welcome to the show, Dee, and thanks for accommodating. But when I was putting it in the diary, meeting starting in 14 hours. So I hope you've been through. Hope you've been through the run. Hope you've been through the run sheet, Dee, and we'll prepare.
Yeah. Well, so it's good to see you, Bicey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somehow.
in one form or another. Now, Dee, we've had, both worked on the same team, sailed with each other, and that is one small part of your sailing career. So, but we're pretty interested to kind of hear how it all began, mate.
Oh, Jesus, that's way long ago. I don't know if you can look back into history that far. I mean, I started sailing in 1965 in Santa Cruz, California. And my dad bought a keel boat. I was 12 years old, and we put it in the water on Friday, took it for a little sail in Santa Cruz Harbor, which is really a small harbor. And the next day we went out for a yacht race. And to tell you the truth, we didn't know what we were doing. I was 12 years old. But anyway, he figured out that the boat that set the marks left the fleet. And he asked me to find out why. And I looked through the binoculars, and I had pretty good eyes back when I was 12. And there was a pole with a flag on it near the beach. And he goes, well, that's the mark. And so everybody was following the big boat down to Soquel, and we jibed over toward the harbor, and we ended up winning the race. And that's what the start was.
Wow.
How's that for a story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leads it off with the on top of the podium.
Yeah.
Not a bad
always, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you remember?
So that was
do you remember what kind of boat that was? Was it quite a generic keel boat or anything special?
It was a Happy Roman, which was called a Gladiator. It was a Lapworth 24 with a long keel and a rudder on the keel. You know, fractional rig boat. 24 feet long. It weighed 4,000 pounds, and it was really fast. Right. I think we got up to 5 or 6 knots once in a while.
Riveting stuff.
I think I've gone faster on my 2.4.
Oh.
So yeah,
it's an interesting thing, because you've been with the sport for, that sounds like 57 years if I'm doing my maths. And
off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, no.
You don't have to remind me.
Yes, sorry, mate. And it's you've seen so much change. It's a sport that's been around for thousands of years, but in the last few years, you've seen so much change. How do you feel about that?
Well, I look at it two different ways. I love the technology. I love the advancement and the development. That's kind of what I base my career on and everything else. But the more that changes, the more it stays the same. And really, it's all about what you're trying to do and the method to do it. I mean, whether you're foiling or sailing, excuse me, I have to turn this off. That phone's ringing.
That's a good ring. I must admit, I have a duck quacking for when my wife calls. Is that Josh calling, Dee?
Well, no, it's not. It's just that I put the phone next to the window to have better reception. So,
okay.
I get a better connection, and I don't want to be able to drop. Sorry about that. But I do think that the sport, in some ways, is in a fantastic place. And in some ways, the old part of the sport is being ignored. My career is all about tactics and trying to outsmart people and doing it on the race course. And when you just keep going faster and faster, you just keep taking tactics out of the race, really, because you can't tack, you can't jibe. You're taking crew work out, and that is a sad part of the advancement. But it is pretty cool, I mean, when I was with New Zealand and San Francisco, they did give me a ride, and I am very proud of my speed record of 48.7 knots going down the bay and 22, 24 knots of wind. So that to me was a really cool time and a great experience. So I see both sides. It's still a wonderful sport, and there's still things that can be developed and whatnot. I would love to be part of one of those America's Cup teams now, thinking about how to get the lift off easier and be able to, foil in 3 knots of wind, stuff like that. I mean, and then being able to foil in seaway, the 60s, they're amazing. They're going to go around the world, and I think they're going to have a pretty good chance of getting around without breakages this year, or the bendy next year, I think it is. So you think about it, and, engineering is part of our sport. It's at the root of our sport, and engineering doesn't go backwards, it goes forward. So, yeah.
And you were kind of part of the, where we, not the first time we crossed paths, Dee, but with the Z86 Morning Glory, with the canting ballast twin foil technology, which was basically, that was one big step as well.
It was a huge step, and it really opened my eyes to what foiling is really about. And it actually upsets me. I'm not going to say piss me off, but it upsets me that the rule makers are trying to rate boats that shouldn't even be part of the fleet. Just because it has one hull doesn't mean it's not really a catamaran or a multi-hull or stuff. You don't race multi-hulls against monohulls. You shouldn't be racing boats with canted keels and foils against standard boats. Okay, saying that, I loved being the project coordinator or whatever you want to call me back then and doing the boat. And I really didn't realize what it meant till we went sailing in Antigua in big breeze and big seaway, and we're going 13, 14 knots upwind on this boat, and I can actually stand on the deck without holding anything, because as the boat went over the wave, the keel was over 53 degrees. We're heeling at 22, 25 degrees. So the keel's at 70, 80 degrees, right? It's almost horizontal. And every time we got launched off a wave, it would have the softest landing that I've ever witnessed. And it was because of this keel that was horizontal. It was like a wing, just letting us down. And then the 11-ton keel wasn't directly under the boat, so it was off to the side. And it changed the whole motion of the boat, so there wasn't this huge pitching arm underneath the boat either, because it's out to the side. And I thought that was incredible. And I just said, and they're letting us race? And I'm kind of going, oh, God, this is really going to be a problem, because this is silly. There's no rating rule in this world that could rate this accurately, because the boat's so dynamic. And that was one of the original boats. Can you imagine them trying to rate the boats now? All boats getting out of the water and everything. It's silly to think that they could be so arrogant to think that they can. Because they can't. There's no way they can.
I think we found your next career, Dee.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Yeah, what, a rule maker? No way.
The interesting thing is, because of the length of your career, mate, you would have seen quite a few rating systems obviously come through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and, the fact that, you raced IMS and you've raced all these different rule systems, I guess, and clearly it influences some of your thinking just from that discussion. Might as well ask, what's the best rule system?
There is none. I feel that the best way to have a rule system is to actually let the boats get type formed, whatever that type form is, because then you'll have close racing. And fair racing. If you try to say you can put everybody in one box, it's impossible, because there will be conditions where they perform and there'll be conditions where they don't. We had the same problem with IOR, which was a type forming rule, and you have maxi racing against a quarter tonner on the same rule. And if it's a flood tide race, the big boat wins. If it's an ebb tide race, the little boat wins. And whatever you can do, if you can predict who's going to win before the race, then it's not a good rule. But if you take a type forming rule and you box it, and we're going to say the TP52 rule because it's survived and it works. All the boats are the same, and you win on the water. That's about as close to racing you can get. If you go outside that type of thing, now you race a 52 against a 72. Well, if the conditions are even, it's a good race because they're basically developed similarly. The rating rule treats them the same well. I'm talking about IRC or even ORC. I mean, they treat them both the same. So there'd be a pretty good race. But then you get some shitter cruiser boat that can't plane or can't do anything, and you're going 5 knots and the other boat's going 9 knots upwind, a 52. And how do you say how they should correct out? So it's hard. And I think the biggest problem that we've had is we've had a contraction of the sport to the point that there's not enough boats racing, so they throw them all in together to make it a race.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I was going to ask, because obviously with, you pick a major offshore race and you can't have a box rule because there's so many different types of boats in there. And I'm just interested if one rule handles it better than the others, I guess. We know there's weakness in every rule because of exactly that, weather conditions, all sorts of things. Last year's Hobart was a classic example for quite a while. It was an upwind race, slow upwind race, and let's call them the retro, the old designs, the old Sparksman and Stevens style boats, like you started out, that sort of long keel sort of feel, they were the ones that were doing well, so it's conditions are determinant, but when you've got a big race with lots of different boats, that's how we try and make the sport work. Obviously, one design's the only solution.
It is, but then you can do things like I did with the 2.4, and then it's not really a one design race either. So, there's development that you can do under any rule. And if you do a better job, you'll have a head start on everybody else when you get to the race course. I've always thought that 90% of the races are won before the start. And I still think that that's pretty true. Yeah. So and then all you have to do is not screw it up if you did the good job before.
That brings you straight back to your first ever race then. So you'd done 90% of the work before that race then, Dee?
Yeah, I had those binoculars.
The good
That's what I had. I had them on the boat. I could see that pole flag.
So rating aside, Dee, you've obviously clearly sailed on a whole bunch of different boats throughout your career. Any particular boats stand out, or campaigns for that matter?
There's the specialty boats like the Morning Glories, both the 86 and the 50. That when we built the 50, that was a great boat at its time too. That was just when IOR was blowing up, and both of those boats were pretty good because they didn't lose a race in a year, kind of thing. Another boat was Innovision, and we just lost Hans Akoff. He just died a week or two ago, which is a real sad situation because he was an ace and the boat was incredible. And that was kind of at a change between overlapping jibs and non-overlapping jibs. We actually had 2 sets of chain plates in the boat and the rig that we can change in between. And we were able to mold the sail area to the races that we wanted to win. And that was a huge advantage kind of thing, because you could do stuff. So those few boats are there, but then you have other boats that are great. I mean, the 52s are awesome. To race a 52 anywhere is fun. I mean, I got back this last summer. I sailed on Outsider in the Gotland Run and the Baltic 600, and we were first to finish. We beat the Volvo 70 by 1 second in the Gotland Run. And we beat 2 out of the 3 Volvo 65 and set 270s, boat for boat in the 600. So, you take a 52 footer and you beat 70 footers. I mean, it's pretty impressive. The other boats that I thought in the recent past that were fun to sail were the 72s because they're kind of like just, a 52 on steroids. And, so crew oriented, and you got to have a good team and good program to do well. And the boats just handle beautifully. So you like a boat that's balanced and easy to sail, but you can get extra bits out of it, don't you? I mean, you do. I do. Yeah. I don't know.
I noticed you didn't mention the mum.
Sailed around the world,
I noticed you didn't mention the Mum 36, Dee.
Oh, well, the Mum 36 was a good boat at its time, too. There's nothing wrong with those.
Yeah.
The only problem with the Mum 36 is I think I did 4 world championships and I took second place every one of them. That's what pisses me off about the Mum 36. So, yeah. Good boat, though. Fun class to sail in, like the Far 40s and whatnot.
Yeah, so
good racing is good racing.
You touched on one design, and obviously within those one design realms, the preparation is absolute key. What about the 40s? The Far 40 era was pretty huge, wasn't it? Predecessing the TP52s,
Oh, yeah.
But it was fantastic sailing.
Yeah, I mean the Far 40, is still a good boat 20 years later and 22 years later, whatever it is. And as a class, it was great. The owners, schlopped their boats all over the world, and we all showed up in different places and had great parties and fun sailing and challenging sailing. And it wasn't easy for sure. You had to sail well to do well. And that was definitely a good time. And the Mum 36 was the start of that. Really, Vicey.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean,
correct.
That's keel boat one design racing. That's where it all kind of got popular.
Yeah.
I do want to go back. I sort of distracted us from an interesting thing. At the start, we got to the stage where your dad had bought a yacht and you went sailing one day and then the next day went racing and won. Did you turn pro that day, or did you? What was the next process for you? How did
you charge your dad?
Kind of hard to charge my dad when you're 12 years old. I mean, maybe you got hooked up for child labor laws or something. I don't know, but it kind of we sailed that boat for 5 years, and then he bought a Cal 29, and that was kind of another eye opener for us. The Cal 29 was 1970. Now what am I now? I'm 18 years old. And we picked up the boat. I went down with my dad to help commission it in Newport, where they were built in Costa Mesa there. And my mom and my little brother and little sister showed up, and they were the crew. And we went for a little cruise with the Southwestern Yacht Club up to Marina del Rey. And then we entered the Marina del Rey San Diego race, which was maybe about the third or fourth time they had it. And we were sailing Morph, which is a midget ocean racing fleet. And we were one of the bigger boats in the fleet. And we raced. We started, and it was kind of windy for LA, going downwind for the afternoon. And we sailed, and then we drifted into San Diego the next morning. And, basically a 24-hour race going 120 miles. It's like really fast racing back then. But the thing is we beat all the Cal 40s boat for boat in that race.
Wow.
And a Cal 29, and we passed the last 100 yards from the finish. And we set an elapsed time record for Morph that has never been broken.
Wow.
And the reason I can say that it's never been broken is because they moved the finish line to outside. So they don't have that finish anymore. And because there was no wind at the finish all the time.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. And then later on, I kind of got out of the draft, luckily, in the Vietnam War by my number being 2 more than they took that year. And I was tired of school, so I decided to go to work, and I started working at a marine hardware store in Berkeley and living on the Cal 29, and kind of left college. I just lazy. I wanted to be outside, and got hooked up with a bunch of guys in we called it the East Bay Mafia, and Chris Corlett and Dave Hulse. I don't know if you know those names. And worked for Tom Blackhaller for a couple of years at the loft there, and Tom Wiley and his shop to help build some boats and some masts and whatnot, and got hooked up with the animal farm. And we sent the animal farm to the half-ton North Americans in Corpus Christi, which we won every race. And then we sent it off to La Rochelle, France, 1974, 42-boat half-ton cup. And we were fifth, a bunch of hippies from California. And it was kind of a big eye-opener for me. I took my bicycle over. You like this, Bicey? I was 22 years old, took the bike over, rode through Paris, got on a train, went to Grenoble, spent the night on the riverbed in Grenoble. Next morning, rode up to the Alps, 3 days up, 2 days back. We went up to Tignes, back to Lyon, and then took the train over to La Rochelle and did the regatta. I fell in love with Europe and traveling. I knew I was never, ever going to sit in an office, period. And I just had to figure out a way. The marine industry kind of gave me that way. We were fifth in the regatta. We beat the winner 4 out of 5 races. It was kind of a good and a bad thing. We screwed it up. We could have won. We won the last race by 7 minutes, the biggest amount of any race. And it was in the Bay of Biscay in a full-on gale. I think I might have told you the story during our sail into La Rochelle, Dicey. I don't know. I told everybody else. It was a full-on gale with waves, 40 feet high with 20 feet freak waves on top of them. And 8 boats finished at 42. 1 boat got rolled over. It was worst conditions that I ever saw in the Southern Ocean. I mean, it was terrible. And we won the race with a hippie boat from California. So that was fun. Got into sail making after working for Blackall. I started a loft in 1980, a Horizon loft in San Francisco, and then we turned into a UK loft. And that kind of started the pro career because I ended up sailing on boats everywhere. Won the SORC with Scarlett O'Hara, and some of the other boats that we had were pretty good. And last year we were in business. 90% of my work, sail work, was sold into Europe. So it was kind of natural that I got divorced and closed the shop. It wasn't very easy to make money. Moved to Italy within a month and started there. And that fall, it became legal to go pro sailing, and that's when I started. 1980.
Now, you're well known on the circuit, Dee, for many things, one of which the goatee. Did that start in the hippie days, just with the moustache, and then it morphed into a goatee when you moved to the continental Europe?
I had the full beard. I mean, I think it was Joss that made me cut off most of the beard, but we left the goatee because, I had to have, it's too much skin, right? And you had to have something there distracted, right? So, yeah, no, I met Joss in 1989 Hobart race. She was a blind date in Sydney, and we've been together since. So, I think I've done 5 or 6 Hobart races. Yeah. For you Aussies. And I think it's a great race every 5 years to remember how bad it is. It takes you 5 years to forget.
You often hear people, it's their Mount Everest, it's their pinnacle, it's their main attraction to sailing, and I say, it's really not that good.
Well, in the old times, like in 1989, I did it on the Futu, which was the old Jamarella and Iowa 50. And it was hard, because we got busted and the boats were so slow that you couldn't get there on a northeaster. So it was terrible. Now you go on the race and it's a lot easier because the boats are so much faster. The last one I did was on what was it called? The Rockall was a 52 in 2017. And we just passed the boat that took second in the race. And we were catching Matt, boat for boat. And the rudder fell off in the Bass Straits. There's a story for you.
That's not fun.
Yeah, it was fun. We were going 25 knots. I was driving the boat, and I thought I was gone. I literally got thrown to the leeward side in the water. I thought I was off the boat. I wasn't tied in. And Spider, remember Spider?
Yep.
German BN. He grabbed my foot on the way by. He was on the handles, and he made sure I didn't go over because they would have never gotten me. No life jacket, no tied in, no rudder, done.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of the last time I was in that area on the 60, Ricey, and that time we flipped over going into
Sydney Harbour, the world's greatest brooch.
Yeah.
Made Pepe Rebus famous, that one.
Pepe was on the bow, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah. Hey, Dee, referring back, your career both inshore and offshore. Inshore, you were well known for leaving nothing out on the water and doing every single thing you could do to win. But once you got back to shore, it was all good mates again. Is that kind of was that strategic or just your nature?
Oh, that's one. I have to thank you. I think that's a compliment. One. Well, I don't know because I'm not me, so I don't know how it's. I mean, I am me, and I don't know how other people perceive me. But I don't see any reason to try to lose when you're on the water. So if there's anything you can do, you do it. And then it's just like anything else. You get ashore, then you leave whatever happened on the water, and it's, you go be whatever it is. You're not being competitive on shore, right? So I don't know. Isn't that the way everybody does it?
Yeah, well,
I guess not.
So, as I met, inshore and offshore, is it one kind of take your fancy more than the other? Because you have, like I said, had a well-established career in both.
Well, definitely, I see myself as an ocean racer that learned out at inshore, for sure. Yeah. I love the ocean. It's a wonderful place to be. Everything is different. I like the tactical game in the ocean even more. I mean, a buoy race, you run somebody to a corner and the options are over. If you're just a little bit faster, you control the whole event. Offshore is different. You have to be able to see and feel what's happening over the horizon. And you have to be good with weather and currents and places that you've never been. And trying to figure that out, to me, is the best part of sailing. It's the challenge. I'm tactical, strategical. I want to do the best job in that area. Now, yes, of course, I see speed as a really good advantage, but if you're not going the right way, it takes you a really long time to get back to the right place, right? I mean, you lose more if you go fast the wrong way. So you might as well go the right way all the time. So yeah.
And you mentioned before, 90% of it's won on the shore prior to the race. There must be some pretty good and bad memories from some boats that you did, or some campaigns that you were part of.
Yeah, you get mixed up with people that, you assume they're at a level and you find out that they're not. And then the job becomes educational rather than tactical or whatever you're hired to do or whatever. But it's all about, like you say, to try to make the performance the best possible. You get on a boat. Most of my jobs were actually in and fix it and give a team a chance to win when they haven't had, even though they knew what they were doing. They were just minus a little tactical, directional, or now I can say, grown up kind of thing. But so you come in and you fill that hole. Like I did that with the Caixa Galicia program in the early 2000s. I mean, Robert Hawkins said, come and go sailing with it. They had a 52 and they said that 55 footers were beating them like crazy. And I kind of said, well, okay, fine, let's go sailing. And they said, well, you can't start where you want to start because they're just going to kill you. And I go, okay, fine. And Leeuwarden was favored, and you want to go left, and Palma all the time. And so we started down at the Leeuwarden, and I just told Chooney, and you know Chooney, he's back then, nobody knew him, but God, he was good. And I said, just go fast. I don't care. You don't have to point. Just keep your air clean till we get to the left corner. Everybody will tack. We'll tack on their hip. We won the race by 2 minutes. And everybody's going, kind of thing. And I go, all you had to do is figure it out. Just trust your boat. The boat was fast. It just was small, smaller than the big boats. So we ended up winning 3 Copa del Reys in a row, and with that team. And there was nothing wrong with the team. They just had to learn how to win and get confidence. And that's kind of what I did sometimes, was just like say, hey, you're okay. Just go the right way. You'll win.
And you mentioned Chooney, who I had the pleasure to sail with in the Volvo. But you must have sailed with some absolute legends before, Dee.
Oh.
Myself excluded. But you could... No, but from throughout your career, both on inshore and offshore, some absolute crackers.
I go back to the Jameson days, to the crew that we had on Jameson as one of the best. We had Stewie driving.
Yeah.
We had Neil McDonald or Marco Constance on the main. We had Damien on the bow. Mike Model trimming.
Yeah.
When you put that crew on any boat, you're going to win, and it was so much fun. Even Mikey Howard sailed with us a few times. I mean, at that time in the late 90s, I would have put that crew up against anybody, and then even Larson's drove the boat in the Admiral's Cup, and we won that. And yeah.
Yeah, good. Shit, your trophy cabinet must be full, mate. I'll tell you.
No. I don't get those trophies. Let's go to the owners. I think it was the third Worlds we did with Jameson. Tommy Roach was not happy with his second place. And so he threw his trophy in the Punta Gorda. I'm not the Punta Gorda. That's where I am right now. Punta Ala Yacht Club in Italy. He took his trophy after he got it, and after all the trophies were done, and he took it, and I go, I didn't want this.
Geez, you'd be stiff doing that this time around. You'd probably win an Audi or something.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, that'd be kind of hard to throw the Audi in, but yeah, that would have been a good win. But yeah, there's been a few watches that I won owners and things like that. It was always fun. It's always good to make somebody happy, It's just, and if they learned how to learn and get better, and the next time you sail with them, they're even better. That just makes you feel good. It's just, I was all about trying to make the whole team better and take a jump and go to a different plateau and then learn how to do it themselves. I think that was the most rewarding, if I could leave a boat that way.
Yeah. You mentioned Mikey Howard before.
Yeah.
Now, for you, BP and Jordan might not know Mikey, but put it this way, if he's stepping on your boat instantly, the love and laughter is through the roof. It's kind of like, let's call it Knocker, who we know quite well. He does the same, right, here in Oz?
He would be very similar to Knocker. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But I remember during the Volvo, the Amos Sports, Asa Abloy, Asa was struggling a little bit, and they brought Mikey in just to kind of get some crew dynamics working. And next thing you know, they win. Because the crew dynamics are just gone through the roof.
So important, yeah.
And they put Neil in charge too.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, that was those two changes were pretty much why they elevated themselves. They already had a fantastic navigator, my good old friend Mark Rudiger, who we lost just after that time.
Yeah.
And that was hard to see.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, I think we need to talk about sort of a major element, like we've talked about a pretty amazing career, but, you went to the Paralympics in Rio in 2016. So you've gone from an able body to a parasailer. What happened to you, mate? Can we talk about that or not?
Yeah, I don't mind. It's pretty well known. I mean, I was moved to Spain for the America's Cup. I was managing the Sociolosa program and doing tactics, and I ended up getting a pain in my back. Usually a pain in everybody else's back, but it was my back this time. And it turned out to be, after a long time figuring it out, a big tumor in my back. And after that, we took it out in Spain, and they basically told me, "Oh, you can't walk anymore," and all this. Obviously, I was out of the cup by then, and it turned out to be stage 4 cancer, and we didn't really know what it was from until I got home and got treated here in John Hopkins in Baltimore, and it was stage 4 lung cancer. And I never smoked, but it screwed me up. It attacked my back. They took the tumor out, and it was only one tumor, but it was very large. And then that kind of lost us. So they thought it was benign at first, and it wasn't. And so it spread. And lung cancer can spread and double in size every 90 days. Well, the first tumor didn't do that, but the next 8 tumors that all of a sudden appeared did, and kind of screwed my back up. And I've had 3 major back surgeries because of it. I lost some use of my left leg on the quad muscle. My left leg's about half as strong as my right one. And I'm old now, so I had problems, and I thought I didn't know what I was going to do at that time after I got rid of the cancer, which was amazing in its first place. But I went to try to do something, and after my last surgery, which was after the cup, I had a small bike accident with a guy, and I fell over when I was riding to work in San Francisco, and I just fell over. It wasn't at speed. I was stopped, actually. I just couldn't get unclipped, as you know, Bicey. And I fell over, and it basically blew my back up. And that was caused from the cancer, but it blew my back up. So after that surgery, I didn't know what I can do because I was still sailing before that. And so I went to my buddy Fuzz Spanik. You guys know him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I asked him if I could help the U.S. Olympic team because he was part of it back then. And I said I could, teach the kids how to go around a course tactically and maybe win a race or 2 instead of go really fast the wrong direction. And he said, "Well, that'd be great, but you should sail." And I go, "Jesus Christ, Fuzzy, I'm whatever I was old. I'm 63 years old or something." And he goes, no, not Olympic class, Paralympic. And I go, "Well, I'm not broken." And he goes, "I think you qualify." And I go, "No way." Well, they measure you like a physical therapist would, and they rate you. And able body's 8. To sail the 2.4, you had to be a minimum, disabled, which is a 7. The first measurement I got, I was a 4, which was like, what the hell? I mean, really? Hard to accept. And then the international measurement made me a 5, and then they watched me sail and they raised me to a 6. Go figure. I don't know what that means. So I was legal, and so I go, what the hell? The best way to maybe help the U.S. Olympic team was to see it from the inside for a year and a half, and then maybe I can help a lot. And so I did it. And it was interesting. And this is something that a lot of people don't know, but I think I have to admit it because it's good for everybody. When I went into it, I was still on my cancer drugs. And when you go to Rio, the water's really bad. And my first cancer drug, it's a pill, and it gave me open sores in my skin. And I didn't want to get in the Rio water for 3 months before and end up not doing the Paralympics because I had some disease or infection. So I changed drugs, and there was a new drug. The doctor really wanted to try it on somebody, And so I tried it, and it made me crazy. It physically, after 3 months of taking the drug, I was nuts. I was an awful person. I came home. My wife says, well, you got two choices. What's that? I can walk out the door, or you can call your doctor. The doctor goes, I go, can this new drug give me a chemical reaction? And he goes, well, yeah. So in 2016, after the Paralympics, I got off the drugs completely. And thank God I didn't need them. After tests, they figured out that I was cured. A few years ago, he said, I don't have to come back, kind of thing. And I have since been off the drugs. I thought that was going to be my last racing period because I wasn't going to be able to hold it together. And now I feel like I'm sailing as well as I did in the early 2000s, where I'm free and easy and confident. And it's like, God, I'm sailing again and racing, and it's like a new me. So that's my history. On this whole part of it. And I have to say, anybody that's taking these great cancer drugs that are out there are side effects. And the one thing you don't know is when it affects your mind. It's really, really hard to know when that happens because it's your mind. I mean, you don't really see what's going on.
Yeah.
So
at any point, did you kind of go, oh, shit? At any point, did you kind of go, oh, shit, something's not quite working here? Or it took Joss to just say, you got to sort this out, Dee?
Well, Fuzz did some coaching for me in the 2.4 when I started. And I think if I had him coaching in Rio, he would have told me something's wrong. But I had a local guy helping me that didn't know me, and I didn't know him. And it was a kind of a strained relationship. I've never been coached. How do I know how to deal with a coach, So, and then just being a dickhead like I was, it made it worse. And what do people do? They just, move back and, they don't know it. You need somebody around you that really knows what's going on. And, big education, for sure I would have medaled. For sure I would have medaled. But am I sad about not medaling? No. I'm so happy that I figured out what the problem was, and I have a new life now. That's the way I look at it.
A life which is now very successful in the 2.4. A few false starts during the COVID period with regattas and stuff, but as we mentioned earlier, or Jordan did, you've now risen yourself to the top of the podium.
Yeah, and sold the boat.
What's the reason behind that, Dee?
Done.
I sold the boat 3 weeks before the regatta, and I'm so happy to be out of it. Now I have time to go big boat sailing again. And that's what I want to do. I want to go back.
Excellent.
Yeah. So if I can, I will. I don't want to work 250 days a year anymore, but if I can go 50 to 80 days a year, I'm going to be really happy because I still love traveling. I still love sailing. I think I have enough to offer, and I'll try my best and help any. And the other thing is because I'm 70 years old now and a Cat 1, I can be paid as a Cat 1. So it's like it's a bit of an advantage for some team. As long as I do my job well, I guess. But I'm just saying, rules are rules. I always thought it was a stupid rule to begin with, but yeah.
We'll put your email address as part of the show notes, Dee.
Yeah, would you please?
I love the plug. We can't just skip over the World Sail. Can you tell us about the 2.4? It's for the listeners. The worlds it's not a para worlds, it's an open worlds. You can be a parasailer or open, sailor. So you're racing equally. Can you at least tell us about the boat and, that
the boat is really good. It's a meter boat. So it's a very well-balanced boat, and it's nice to sail. It's a jib and a main. You have a whisker pole, you wing out the jib. But it's a complicated rule in that it's an open class like any meter boat is, free to develop. But the one design boat is inside the open class.
Okay.
There is no world championship for the one design. There's only a world championship for the open boat.
Yeah.
I have a one design boat that I've sailed one design for many, many years. But when it came to having the open worlds here in Florida, it was, an open, and most of the people here in this country sail one design. So there was only 3 boats that were in the regatta that was set up open. Now I can tell you some pretty interesting things. My boat had a smaller rudder, had a stiffer mast, got twice as much head stay tension as the standard mast. The lead in this one design boat is limited to 181. I reduced weight so much all around the boat that I got over 192 kilos in the boat. So I had about an 8% advantage in riding moment. More sail area because I read the rule different than everybody else, and I made bigger sails, free sail area. So I was faster in light air, medium air, and heavy air. And it was a little bit like taking a gun to a knife fight. I mean, the boat, I've never, ever had that kind of speed advantage in my life. It was huge. And then I sailed quite well too. And so I took a third in the first race. I was called, yelled at for a protest. So in defense, I did a 720. I was a boat length out of first at the time and moved back to 7th and ended up 3rd. And then it was a picket fence after that. And I led at every mark
yeah.
in the next 5 races.
That type form racing's going pretty well, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is the event was announced in 2019.
Yeah.
2 years ago. And then COVID put it off 2 years. So we finally had it. So I had 3 years to put my boat together.
Exactly.
And I'm just twiddling my thumbs trying to figure out what else I could do. And the new sails, I got Mark Reynolds to come out of retirement to work on my sails. I mean, I had the Dimension guys donate cloth. I mean, I just had a lot of people in my corner, and I had time because I'm basically retired. And so what do? You putz with your stupid little 2.4. Now I'm going to be bored because I don't have a boat anymore.
Well, I was going to say, now what are you going to do? You just said you're going to try and find a ride, but that might not happen for a few weeks. You're going to twiddle your fingers now.
Yeah, we still got the power boat, and I'm going to bring it down here. We're going to go out to the Bahamas, and then I'm going to sell that, and then I'll be ready for next year at Big Boats season. That's what I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll come down to Australia and see you guys.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Always welcome down here.
Yeah. Well, we've been trying to get there. Joss is from Sydney, obviously, and her son lives there still, and we haven't been down there since 2017, Hobart race. So, we're due. It must be, 5 years. It must be time to do the Hobart again.
Time to remember all those good memories.
Yeah. Exactly.
The start and the finish.
Yeah.
We're sort of running out of time, but I do want to touch on one thing that about the 2.4 was I see the name Megan Pascoe come up a lot. I've never met her.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's awesome. What a great person, great attitude, very, very competitive. And what I have to say about the 2.4 is it's so good to have such an inclusive boat that you don't actually have to be physical to sail it because you have to sail inside the boat. So you can't really hike over the rail and out hike somebody upwind. It's so tactical. If you go the right way, you win. There's no real speed differences. Yes, I had some, but it didn't matter. If I didn't hit the shifts, it wouldn't have mattered. And the shifts the first day were like 20 degrees. So yeah, it's very tactical, and it evens it out. Megan won the Worlds in 2019, which was the last one, and she beat everybody in Big Breeze in Genoa, Italy. And she's been in the class a lot longer than I have, and she's always been very competitive. Very good sailor. Coached by Fuzz, too, back when he was with the Brits. So, yeah, all there. So,
yeah. And second, I think, to you at these Worlds. Is that right?
Yeah, and she was, behind me, and she beat everybody else really easily.
Right.
Third place was Marco Dolberg from Finland, and he was my first coach in the 2.4 when I got my boat in Finland. So he's also past world champion. So, they know what they were doing. And it was sad because the cost of moving boats around has gotten so big from COVID and stuff that it limited the boats coming.
Yep.
For sure. But having Megan and Marco there, kind of made it. Megan was the only one to ship a boat. And she has a shipper as a sponsor. So that kind of made it easier for her.
Yep. So we've sort of you've laid out your future plan, which is, the Bahamas, and then be ready for the big boat season. What have you got a favourite big boat, or would that limit your employment opportunities if we discuss that?
No, I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I haven't really chased it much, so I don't know. But obviously, I like the, boats that have some type of performance, and the short offshore stuff that I did last year was fun. The Gotland Run and the Baltic 600. So, the 52 that I did it on was great. And, I would do that over and over again, sailing in Europe with mixed crew, mixed nationality crew is so rewarding and so much fun, as you guys know. And, it just kind of makes you happy. So why not? So if I can do that kind of sailing, I would really enjoy it.
I do have one last question, which is sort of my last question I like to ask a lot is, you've got this amazing resume of all these races that you've done, mate. What would be your favourite race in the world?
Oh, Jesus, I hate that question. I always say sailing in the tropics in trade wind situations. So Hawaii would be the best place to sail for sure. Waves and wind and, wind all night, Florida, around Florida is great. The Caribbean's great. But I love sailing in the Med and all through Europe because it's such a different challenge. It's not sailing in that condition, but it's still a challenge. And I really, really like sailing in strategically and tactically hard places. I mean, sailing in the Solent is incredible. I hate going there, but the race there is wonderful, going through Heathrow Airport sucks, But yeah, it's, any place that's tactical and changing where you can use your mind to do a better job. I love that kind of stuff. I hope that answered the question.
Not really, but it was a bloody good answer. Let me say that. Hey, Dee, thanks with the short notice. We've had a great friendship over the years. So, it's always bloody good to bump into you. And I'd always had you in the back of my mind to get you on the podcast. So thanks for joining us. And some bloody good takeaways there, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's nice to be, spontaneous and, I hope hopefully it'll drive somebody to understand the whole problem of sailing and learn how to do a better job. Kind of thing. It's all about giving back now for me. That's for sure.
Well, the word's out, Dee. So listeners, if you want to get someone on board, this is your man.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There you go. It's been a while,
wanna
there, Brett, I tell you. Yeah.
Oh, it'll be worth
I
it
got to
for
find an
whoever
owner
does
or two first. That's what I got to do.
You'll be there, mate. It'll be good to see you there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
Excellent. Cheers,
Thanks
mate.
very much, Dee.
Thank you. It's been swell. A lot of fun seeing you guys.
Send our best to
Even on
Joss.
a flat screen. Yeah. Okay.
Always good to catch up with my good friend Dimitri. As mentioned, I've done a few miles with Dee actually, so got to know him quite well over the years. But specifically, every time we went and visited Newport in recent times with the Volvo and stuff, he's always a bloke come up, would have a beer, have a good chat, and got to know both him and Joss quite well during the Volvo in 01-02. So good. And like we said after the show, shit, that went quick. There's a whole bunch of other stuff.
You could talk to people.
So
like
it was a bit of a brush over.
Yeah, for sure.
And ironic, when he mentioned, 70 years old, and then I was just doing the math back to when I actually met him. So he would have been kind of mid to late 40s, where those guys were old then. And that's like how old we are now.
Yeah.
So when we go and step on a boat, is that what all the young guys are thinking?
Yep, that's it, bud.
Oh, of course it is.
That's how it works.
Yeah, no. So, thanks, Steve, for really getting me thinking how bloody old I really am.
He's great
Shit,
to
you
sail
blokes
with.
must
He's great
feel
to sail
really
with,
good.
though. He's great to sail with. He's definitely passionate. There's no question there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, nice work, boys.
Yep.
Right. What
I'll
next?
mention it.
Other news? Club events. Have to mention this one. Just came over my my desk the other day. The Australian Wing Class National Championships.
Otherwise known as the Wing Dingers.
The Wing Dinger National Champs. It's finally happening. I think there actually is a Worlds already. I think, but 3rd Feb to 5th of Feb at Woollahra. So BP, you're on.
Cool, mate. You're on.
Better
You
get
need to
down
wave
there
the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll finally get to those flags, the forestay flag. Oh no forestays on those. No.
I love it.
Right, we'll put that on the back burner for another year or so.
Oh, I love it. Anyway, the Wing Dinger Nationals. There you go. Hey, we talked about it. Could it be the Olympic class? It's happening. It's definitely happening. It's all go. So for those down Sydney way and
mate, I watched some racing. Must have been on Pitwater.
Yeah.
That they were doing. It's bloody cool.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Another sport in its infancy, but it's definitely going to be big.
Well, I've just ordered another wing, boys. So even though I haven't been doing much, I've got one for Jack, so she can go and use it. So, it's cool. Speaking of Josses, Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. We've got a few. Have you boys got any?
Remind me again. No, I'm trying.
No, you're going to have to remind me on this one. I've been head down, ass up. So.
The problem is that the ones I've got this week have all come over Instagram, and none of you two idiots check Instagram. So I check the Insta all the time, and so we had one last night after I'd written the run sheet. So Timmy Beaver came in. I've got 3, okay?
Oh, Beaver, yeah.
Yeah. So Timmy Beaver came in and he said, gents, in the spirit of bringing the banter for Hobart coverage, any chance of an appearance for the Honey Badger as guest commentator? Oh. So he's agitating to get the Honey Beaver, who is Honey Badger, who's Nick Cummins, a former Australian rugby player, on as a commentator. Now, you blokes know what the Honey Badger's like, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the overseas listeners who've never heard of the bloke, I found a little bit of YouTube. I've got some audio. I'll give it a minute and see if people can get an understanding of what you'd be in for.
You got to put it on because
it's
you put him in a commentary position and it'll be awesome.
It's queued up. Let's see can you tell me if you can't hear it? But here we go.
You ever heard of that Bible story of Samson and Delilah?
Yeah. No.
Well, that's got nothing to do with what I'm doing. So a bit of meat, maybe hopefully offset piece, but I'll take any meat that's on offer, mate. If I end up getting a gig, mate, I'll be going off like a cut snake. Now, the word on the street is, hearing from the crowds, it's you're tough as woodpecker lips. What would you say to that? Yeah, look, there's a couple of big hoovers getting about. When the start of this season turns up, the boys will be, going off like a bull in a china shop. Yeah, mate, buddy, I was like a rat up a drain pipe, one of them runs there, but sweating like a gypsy with a mortgage, actually, when he got up after scoring that try.
That'll do. Did you hear that?
Oh, Jesus.
It's beautiful.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Honey badger for PM.
So
now, you know, Jordan, I don't actually watch rugby.
Yeah, no.
Whereas my experience with the honey badger is, of course, when he featured on The Bachelor.
Yeah, yes. Which I've never seen. Speaking of that, we've made jokes about how much you love your Port Adelaide Football Club. Your president and I had a dinner together the other night.
Koshy.
Yeah. And I got the photo and sent it to you, as you know. And he said, a lot of Port fans. And I said, mate, I'm not a Port fan. I'll give you the tip. It's just my mate, and his little bogan son with his mullet haircut. And I said... And he said,
life membership.
Exactly. He said, is he missing his teeth? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm a Wallabies fan. I'm into my rugby. And he's just said, he gave me a hug because we've been so bad for so long. Anyway.
Sailing podcast. That's going well.
Yeah, let's go well. Let's get back onto it. So the other ones that were interesting. So this is a bit of a discussion. Coming the end of the year, a lot of people are getting this sort of update sent from their streaming service, who they listen their podcasts through. So we got notes sent through. Tom Gayford sent us one, and he sent us. It's got his top 5 podcasts he listened to. So he's got all the biggest podcasts in the world are sort of listed in a row, quite big. But number 1, Barkarati.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
So we took on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Took on World Sport.
Yeah, knocked all those blokes off. And then T. Moritz, who sends us a few notes and is a very passionate fan, and we're very grateful. He sent his listing, but it said he has spent 4,168 minutes listening to Barkarati this year.
I'm sorry, mate. I really am.
Mate,
I'm trying to escape.
He obviously doesn't have the sleep function set.
Well, I just love, I love it though. So one of the things that makes me happy, and I'm sort of I'm going to go kind of half serious here. One of the things that makes me happy.
I'll see where this is going.
No, well, when we discussed the podcast at the start, we said, one of the golden rules is it's not about us. It's got to be about the listeners, right? It's, anybody that takes themselves serious and thinks they're a star or something, you can forget about. And one of the great joys of our podcast is you two blokes, anytime I start talking about myself, you rip straight into me, like it's almost like you know what you're doing. So it's good, and the thing that we get an update as well. Like you guys, the listeners are probably getting their update, but we get an update as well about what the listeners are doing. And one of the things is we don't pay to find out how many people listen to the show because we haven't ever tried to sell it for advertising. But one highlight that they sent us is that we are
this was just through Spotify.
Yeah, but this is a global measure apparently. Our podcast is in the top 5% of the most shared podcasts in the world. I can't work that out. That just blows my mind.
Time to retire. Packing the shirts away.
Yeah, we've achieved our goal.
Throwing away my brown pack and tape.
There was a couple of other ones. One is we've scored out of 5. Our listeners score us out of 5, which is great. And then our listeners are selective with the podcast they listen to. They've got lots of love to go around. Once they decide they like a podcast, they're all in. And that's the sort of listeners we have. So
we have a bunch of loyal listeners.
Committed listeners.
That's what we're saying.
So I guess where I was trying to get to is I feel so grateful. So thank you for everybody, because we get great emails all week, and for those who do listen and share and rate and everything, just thanks, because we're not doing it for the money, we're doing it for the fun. It's a ton of fun, but
doing it for potential money.
Yeah.
Do you guys do a podcast? Does it make any money? No. Potentially, though.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
potential is there.
Yeah, we're like a
There
nuclear
is
bomb that hasn't gone off. Anyway,
There is opportunity. Come on.
Anyway, I just wanted to say thanks because,
Done.
great listeners. It's all about
Thanks,
the listeners.
everyone.
Righto. Speaking about the listeners.
It's hot time with Bice.
Gents, I've got a bit of news.
What?
Yep.
You know how popular our show was? Well, for the reverse curse.
Yep.
One. Basically, people that come on go well. As for ourselves, not go so well in various things. You know how popular the Sydney Hobart show was last year?
Yes.
I think I'll be back.
Oh.
I'll be back.
What's happened? You've got COVID.
At this point in time, no. Unfortunately, I've had to bench myself from the Sydney to Hobart this year. Oh. Well, just due to the fact, like the Willow campaign, been with it for a couple of years. We haven't managed to go the last 2 years. All the boys are up there now training. We're racing this weekend, like locally.
Yep.
Then the weekend after, got the Dockside Festival. The weekend after, a whole bunch of other stuff. Then on a daily basis, then got a couple of businesses to run as well. So just the timing has just been completely shit house and not being able to get there for the training, and definitely not going to do the rock star thing and just jump on board and go. So at this point in time, I won't be taking part in the Sydney to Hobart. So there may or may not be a daily special. Let's see.
The daily special. People loved that last year. BP, you were on fire, son. BP shone.
Hauling it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, it was harder to pick than a broken nose, but you bloody pulled it out of your nicely. You called it from day one. So stand by on that, gents. I'll keep you updated on where we're at. But at this point in time, we may or may not be having it.
Daily show. And with BP's picks, you go home rich.
You got, one day. It's got potential.
Good and
potential.
Bad. I'll be honest. That makes me happy. Bad for sailing, but it's good that you're finally in my world now, where you just can't fit too much in.
Jesus.
But
right, onwards. AC dates have been announced.
Yes.
So October 2024 is all going to be breaking it down.
Yep.
So let's see what's going to happen there. I was a bit scared it was going to be in the middle of about 48 degrees in Barcelona, but October should be nice and fine racing.
Nice time of year. Yep.
And linked to that, Jordan, are you the marketing consultant for Barcelona?
Why? What?
Have you seen their latest marketing?
No.
Similar to the way you sign off on your emails, just with a J. They've just got a B.
A B?
Yeah. Picture of the cup with a B next to it.
Exactly. So anyway, and then Project Keep Designers, Sailors and Boat Builders Busy, or Project Land Speed as they call it. They're back on. They've made their way back out to Lake Gardner.
So it rains?
Just ready for a bit more rain. Yeah, La Nina, no way. It's Project Land Speed coming
that's
down.
it.
That's it. What pisses down here.
It's hilarious. Every time they announce they're going to the lake, down comes the rain, and it has been bucketing down here. So I don't know how it is for you, mate. But
no, it's actually summer has hit. We've had 4 days worth of summer.
Right.
So
Nice.
So far this year. So that's all good.
Getting ready for January. Looking forward to getting down there.
Then finally, gents, I'm going to move over to the Ocean Race. There was an announcement this week called the Ocean Race Sprint Cup. Basically, it's the Volvo Ocean. A good way to say there's not going to be Volvo Ocean 65s doing the complete the Ocean Race. And they will be taking part in only 3 legs.
Yep.
So, which is the first leg? They'll be doing the inshore. And that's another bloody question who they are. But there's basically 5 IMOCers that'll be doing the complete thing. And then there's going to be the 65s competing in those 3 legs, which is Alicante to Cape Verde, Aarhus to The Hague to the finish. Only 3 legs. Now, where that then took me is let's have a look at what boats are going to be competing. So I've had a look on the website. Mirapuri's last post, 13th of July.
Yep.
Unlikely.
Yep.
Team Jarjo, it's all written in Dutch, so I can't read it anyway. My dyslexia glasses aren't on. Team Austria, last post, 6th of November, with the boat half painted. Haven't seen anything else. Poland takes you straight to a holding page. Baltic takes you straight back to the ocean race page. Team Mexico takes you straight back to the ocean race page. So, yeah, don't know. I'm not holding out too much hope, gents. But I guess it's a strategy to try and get some boats on the water. Hopefully it works just to get them on the water. Bit disappointing to not have them as full part of the ocean race.
So why wouldn't the race do something, if they're going to do something like that, why wouldn't they have open legs, right? One leg where you can run what you've got and just be involved. So like some of the major offshore boats could do a leg. So you could get, like here in Australia, if they had stopped in Australia, they could have had a leg where you could have got all the Super Maxis or some of the 60s or 80s could go and do a leg alongside, So you could actually start to bring owners into the fold. So in Europe...
that idea we had about 5 years ago.
Yes.
And took to the top.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But, that way of bringing people in, that if they're going to do stuff like that, then they could open it up and sort of bring some of the privately owned campaigns along and do a leg or two. It'd be good fun, I reckon. So much to say on this and so much can't really say, but it's a bit of a bull terror, let's say, not in the good term. But
say sack terror instead.
Yeah. Well, still interested to watch the 60s go around, let's be honest, and we're going to get good footage off them.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So we got those 5 and hopefully we'll try and get someone in the expertise area to give us a bit of a rundown on who's there. But we got 11th Hour Racing, Militia, PRB, Holliston PRB, Team Europe and Biotherm. So 5 IMOCers in fully crewed format, hitting it hard.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Cool. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
That's me.
All right. Well, I've been thinking.
Do tell.
That's unlike you.
Well, I'll just... thanks, Pete.
Need one of those little, on Zoom, how you can put the hand up.
Yeah.
But it could be like a light bulb. Ding!
Light bulb. Jordan's thinking.
Dear. So one of the interesting things that's sort of gone through my mind is when we bantered about, try to explain schoolies to people a couple of weeks ago, which is an Aussie tradition when you finish high school. And I got this note about Norwegian high school students doing something called russifering or something, which is basically exactly the same thing. They all get dressed up, drive similar cars and buses, wear coloured overalls and party non-stop for 2 weeks, right? So I thought, that's pretty cool. And then, so that sent me down, me, my brain works, thinking about other traditions around the world and whether Baccarati needs one, like in Spain, in Castrillo de Murcia, they have a baby jumping tradition. In Finland, well, they jump over babies. There's a boot tossing tradition in Finland. Obviously, in Lincoln, you've got the tuna toss. You've got
tuna toss, yeah.
You've got the caber toss in Scotland, throwing tomatoes at each other in Bunol in Spain, oranges in Italy, and sausage tossing in Switzerland. Boys, there's a hollering competition in North Carolina. And then
there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. There is actual baby tossing in India, and then the old land diving, where you jump off things in Vanuatu. So,
and what was that little craze going around a while? Planking. Yeah, a few different things going around. So what are you trying to say is we need to come up with something ourselves?
I don't know. I'm just wondering. So there are a couple of traditional things that we talk about, on bar karate. We always say with bar karate, which is the act of describing your race with your hands in the bar, and the joke about we never always claiming to be second best rather than best.
Almost taking them back to the bingo card.
Yes, a bit back to the bingo card. So what is the tradition? What is our big tradition?
I don't think we need to do anything.
What's the tradition? What's going to be our legacy? Potential.
Well, I mean, how many photos have we seen of people standing around with the bar karate pose, and people are sending photos in going, look who's talking about, bar karate. Yeah. So realistically speaking.
Well, maybe just the other one. I'd be interested just to hear, are there any other strange traditions that we haven't done, that are specific to sailing? Because none of those were related to sailing. But I'm interested because I hadn't sparked any thought about that. So maybe we could just talk about some of the listeners' traditions.
I mean, there's a lot of tradition in kind of some of the words within the yachting game and the maritime game or history.
Yeah.
So I like it. Putting it out there to the listeners, what are some of the traditions or isms that do go on?
Even if it's just your own personal one, like something.
That's right.
I'd be interested just to see.
It's like kind of like Rafa going up for a serve, right, at tennis.
Yeah.
Pull the ear, rub the nose, scratch the butt type thing.
Pick the undies out of your crack, that sort of thing.
Oh, dear.
So, well, traditionally at the top mark, I always reach down and adjust the package just to make sure that we're all free and fancy going downwind.
Ready to go downwind, yeah.
All right. Well, that was all, because I just found all these. I went hunting and I found them. The other one I wanted to bring up is I've discovered, and I don't know how aware people are of this, the number of unmanned autonomous drone vessels that are floating around in the ocean at the moment is way more than people realise. So
Have you got a number? Have you got a number on it?
No. Because
I'd like to know what the number is.
I can't reveal some things I know. Are they the new
stuff? Obviously, it's top secret. Obviously.
Are they the new sunfish? Is that what people are hitting? Like, there genuinely is, and some of them are a decent size. They could be 20 foot in size. Some of them are just underwater. Some of them are above water. Some are solar powered. Some are,
wind
powered, motion generated. They're a combination of things. But basically, they're doing a lot of scientific research in and around the oceans, tracking data, and I guess some are not necessarily doing scientific research, but monitoring other people, other nations and stuff. So,
yeah, right. All right. He's told us exactly where he works now.
No, I'm not. But I'm interested that there's a lot of them in the water, and there's more going in the water non-stop. Are we at risk? Is our sport at risk? Ocean racing?
Oh, I'll tell you what, if they're there, they're going to be hit, right? That's how it is.
Well, it becomes a concern.
Well, one, I'm guessing there's quite a bit of equipment on board that tells people that these things are around, AIS and all that sort of stuff.
No.
And you can pick them up with radar.
We've had technical failures
but it just
before.
doesn't sound very sustainable to me.
I find it interesting. And how it meets with coal rigs.
Avoid collisions at all costs.
Yeah, well, maybe they've got. I'm assuming they've got some collision avoidance software on them. That's what I would assume. But
one would think so. But no, interesting, because I have seen a few of them, and good friend Bill Erklands was part of a project out of California that was building the autonomous ones with little wings on them. That were basically, I think they launched them from New Zealand, and again, just taking data from down south, or trying to take out some of the boats in Sydney over.
Well, here's the thing. There is a bunch of young Sydney sailors, talented Sydney sailors who went through the match racing scene, who are actually working for one of the manufacturers.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, here we go. So my theory, Sydney Hobart coming up,
Put your money on these guys.
Yeah, they're
because they got a few guided missiles out there to take everyone else out. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So just be warned, like there could be a bit going on. So anyway, I just thought I'd just raise it as a topic of awareness. It'll go from there. But I won't name names or anything like that. But I will share with the boys. With the boys a link so they can see the one that the Australian sailing lads are sort of playing with. But beyond that, all good.
Yeah, cool. I like it. I can almost see it's like a bit of like a James Bond car. Like something will just pop out the side to rip off their foil, take the rudder out, drop a net.
That's it. Cool. All right, whilst we're doing that, I'll just think that I will mention that whilst we're not sort of doing race updates because we're recording this quite early in the week because of everyone sailing on the weekend, it's going to be tough. The Moth Worlds are on in Argentina. So obviously in the past, the great Harry Fisher has been able to provide some video when they've been in Australia. They've done lots of coverage. Haven't had a huge amount. We're a few days in. They finish on the 4th of December. We're only a couple of races in, but, we've got Dylan Fletcher-Scott. We've got Francesco Bruni there. We've got Massimo Contesi. We've got Robbie Greenhalgh is in there. There's Brad Funk. Harry Melges is in there.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got quite... Actually, we're supposed to be talking to Harry. So there's quite a bit going on. So the Moth Worlds are on in Argentina. They're having tough conditions, stormy weather. Hasn't been perfect, but only a few races in at this stage. So,
I'll be keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
BP's tired.
I'm buggered.
BP's gone.
I'm about to put this microphone down and go to bed.
Well, those I haven't seen your head fall onto the keyboard.
Believe me,
Jordan started up again.
Yeah. I wasn't full of my vitality, normal vitality this one. That's for sure.
The only question we have for you, BP, did bring your guitar?
I did. So let's get it out.
Okay.
Warm it up.
All right.
Warming.
Okay, let's go.
All right, mate.
See you later, everyone.
See you, everyone. You sounded better, BP.
Voice sounds really good.
I love how you can talk and sing.
Like someone that stutters. They don't stutter when they sing. It's not croaky when you sing. I like it.